Hi there! Welcome to my series of YouTube tutorials, Games to Play During Piano Lessons. This is game number 7 and it's called I Don't Want to Eat Broccoli! So now, let's introduce dynamics to our students. This game is also applicable for music teachers in the classroom, so at the end of the video, after the examples on the piano, I'll show how you can transcribe this game into a classroom of students. So let's get started. You first can start saying a word, better with at least 3 syllables, so that there is time duration. In different dynamics, starting from the lowest and reaching the loudest. I use pianissimo, piano, mezzo forte, forte and fortissimo. So I only say, let's say, the word butterfly. So I start. Butterfly, 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 butterfly. And then I ask my student what it is you think I did. Let them explain in their own words. Whatever it is that they get the point, and they will use their own words to describe what you just did. Then ask your student to repeat that. And then start drawing those dynamics, those symbols. P, P, then P for piano, M, P, mezzo piano, etc. And then explain each dynamic and translate it. P is for piano, which in Italian piano means quietly, softly. P is the first one that we gave, pianissimo, so very quietly. P, piano, quietly, softly. Mezzo piano, what is mezzo? Towards, partly, in the middle of, but towards, partly, softly. Mezzo piano. Mezzo forte, partly, loudly already, with force. Then introduce the word forte, which comes from the word forza, which means strength. Forte, loudly, and fortissimo, very loud. Give those symbols, draw them, say those words, because they will encounter those things all the time in their music scores. They have to be accustomed to it. So this way you're also already creating visual stimuli and visual memory for those symbols. And then explain what is this thing all called. It's the dynamics in the music. If before you have introduced like time durations or tempo in the rhythm, like in piano game 3, now you introduce the force with which we play or sing or speak. What is dynamics? As I said before, it's the force with which we play, say or do something. Comes from the word dynami, which in Greek means force, strength. And now say again, say the title of the game. I don't want to eat broccoli. And ask your student again what it is that they think you did. Again, let them think and explain with their own words. Then ask them to repeat, or even better, create their own sentence while doing what? So now you explain to them. This is called crescendo. Again, draw the symbol and the words crescendo, which comes from the word crescere, which means to grow, to raise. So I'm raising my voice in this example and coming from a softer dynamic and making it little by little louder and louder. Now, how soft and how loud, that depends on you. You can also actually move your pencil if you drew the dynamics in this order, from the softest to the loudest, and draw your pencil and ask them, Tell me this sentence or another one, starting from this, showing piano and reaching until forte. So that's a relatively small change. Or if you start from pianissimo and reaching fortissimo, that's already a much bigger change. Then the same thing for diminuendo. Diminuire, which means to diminish, to soften. Again with this, let's try again the title. I don't want to eat broccoli. Actually, the diminuendo part, you can ask your student to do it without you showing them. You have first showed the crescendo, they have repeated it, and then ask them to do the diminuendo by themselves. Now, I'm going to show on the piano a simple scale, C major, while creating different dynamics. And then I will give two pieces that show a typical example of a diminuendo and a crescendo. Let's start. So let's start showing our dynamics with simple C major scale. The left hand is accompanying with a very simple harmonic line. I will first show opposing dynamics, piano and forte, so that we set the limits, and then we know how to move in between them, so that your student already have acoustically some limits. Let's start with piano. Soft. Now forte. Loud. Now I'm going to go up piano and go down forte. Opposing dynamics, but with a sudden change, not a gradual one, not a crescendo. Now the opposite, I'm starting forte and going down the scale, piano. Again, a sudden change. And now the gradual changes. I'm going to first make a crescendo, but with very, very different dynamics. I'm going to start pianissimo and end in fortissimo. It's also important here to explain to your student not to create the fortissimo only at the last, let's say, three keys of the right hand, so that there is really a very gradual time with which you raise the dynamic. And now let's say we're going to show a diminuendo to diminish our dynamics, but starting from forte and only reaching to mezzo piano. So we limit our limits of the dynamics. So in this last example, we only have one dynamic in between forte and mezzo piano, and it's mezzo forte. But in the other example where we started pianissimo and reached fortissimo, there are a lot of dynamics in between them. And now a simple short song to show a diminuendo. A nursing song, soft kitty, for the sick child to fall asleep. Let's start with mezzo piano and reach, on our second phrase we're going to start the diminuendo and reach pianissimo, because actually the kitty or the sick child has already fallen asleep. So we're actually whispering on the piano keys. Let's go. And now you can combine with the piano game number 3 that had to do with tempos. And on the second phrase, besides the diminuendo, let's add a ritardando. That will be more realistic as to when somebody's falling asleep. Everything becomes softer, but also slower. And now a second example of crescendo. I'm going to give a small part, the finale part, of Edward Grieg's In the Hall of the Mountain King. Only the last 4 bars. First, let's start from pianissimo and reach fortissimo. Let's make a big change. And then you can add a tempo. So what can you add here? Again, a change in tempo. Accelerando, to accelerate, to play it faster. And also crescendo. And lastly, how you can apply this game for music teachers inside the classroom. Again, start with saying one word with those different dynamics in that order, starting from pianissimo and reaching until fortissimo. Ask your student what it is they think you did. Ask them to explain in their own words, so that you can also again use their language to reach to where they are. Then draw it on the board. Again, create visual memory and the symbols, and then start writing them down. Ask them also to write it. That way they will learn even better. All those words. Pianissimo, what does it mean? Very, very quietly. Piano, mezzo piano, etc. until fortissimo. Then again, ask them to write down the word dynamics, which is what it is you're teaching them in that game. It's the force with which we play or sing or talk or make some action. Ask them then to find their own words, and then you can play with them. Like you pick one team or individually student, and then place your pen on different dynamics, so that you can also understand that the student understood the different levels and ranges of their strength of voice that they're going to use. You can start in the beginning if you see that they're confused, like from pianissimo till fortissimo, so that they also can practice their vocal cords and be aware of the limits. And then you can start playing, like say these words to me in mezzo forte, then go suddenly pianissimo, then fortissimo, forte, or ask a student to come up and show those different dynamics on the board, and the other students for them to pick one other student to say those words. Then give examples with sentences for crescendo. Let's say, I don't want to go outside and play. Ask them what it is you did. Ask them to explain with their own words. Then draw it on the board, the symbol and the crescendo. What does it mean? And then let them create their own sentences by making a crescendo. Or ask them, when do you think a crescendo is being made in real life? Like, the first answer will be probably like when my mom is upset with me and because she has to say to me something like for the third time. She's definitely going to use forte or fortissimo. Or you can ask those questions when a pianissimo dynamic is used, or a forte dynamic. Another sentence for diminuendo. Let's go outside and climb that tree. As if you're telling a secret. First you are enthusiastically about it, and then you lower down your voice, as if you don't want anyone else to hear you. Ask your students to recreate either this sentence or another one. Again, you can ask your students to come up on the board and ask their classmates to play with those. And you can also show the dynamics, the changes, the crescendo, from which range of dynamic and until which you should reach, from piano till forte or from mezzo piano till mezzo piano. That's a smaller change. That's also very good for them to notice and to be able to control and understand in their mind that not all crescendo is coming from the lowest and reaching to the loudest point. And then the fun begins. I love doing this game with my students. I write down for them 2 or 3 sentences and again ask them to recreate their own. Let's say, for example, be quiet, your sister is sleeping. But then I ask them to say the sentence while making a crescendo, which is unnatural because you're trying to be quieter so that your sister doesn't wake up. Be quiet, your sister is sleeping. That would be the normal change of dynamics, making a diminuendo. But instead, you're asking them to do, be quiet, your sister is sleeping. That way, they will even more profoundly understand what crescendo and diminuendo in dynamics is, because they're asked to do something that is unnatural, so they really have to force themselves to do it. And of course, we all have a good laugh about it. Another example for a crescendo, let's say, that would be natural to make a crescendo, but instead we're going to make a diminuendo. Somebody's trying to cross a street, and be careful of the traffic lights. Like if you're afraid that somebody's going to get hit by a bus, you're going to shout. Instead, ask them to say this sentence by making a diminuendo. Be careful of the traffic light. Ask them again to recreate their own sentences. I will attach the scores of the exercises we did on the piano in the video description. Have fun, play fair, and I'll see you on my next piano game video.